right? I read a lot about ethical AI, responsible AI. People gather together to figure out what is it we're gonna do at every level. So
Yeah.
let's maybe cover some of these simplistic again examples here, because engineers and data scientists, they want to experiment.
They
Okay,
do.
they want to deliver innovation.
As they
We
should. And they
and they
should.
should, and they should. So where is this accountability kind of for the results of your work? Right? So at which level you think this thinking should be taken? Let's say at the companies right now, at the those companies who provide the services to us.
Well, and I think a lot of the good old consulting firms, right, that cater to the Fortune 500 and such, they are thinking through these things. They have developed responsible AI, platforms, and they speak about those, and that's a good way for companies that are larger to learn. Bring these consultants in and have them actually explain. Like, I know Deloitte has Bina Amam, she's great, she's fantastic. We have PwC has really great ones as well. I think we hear Anand Rao and some of them. So, I mean, we have some really good, solid groups out there that can create IBM as well, for sure. um, but I think where we're missing the boat is in the smaller, medium sized and below that. And we're also missing that that catalyst inside of companies to want to do the right things. Right now, there's no really big regulations right now at this moment forcing companies to do and think through the ethical implications. But I think what we're about to witness is we're in this era of just distrust as a whole, as a society as a whole. We don't trust the media, we don't trust the government, we don't trust even scientists anymore, it turns out. I mean, there's like all kinds of people we don't trust that we used to trust, that used to be like our institutions that we used to turn to as our trusted sources. And we just don't have those as a society right now. We don't agree on what those are. And so it makes the entire environment for technology and technology development also go by the wayside, especially when we're constantly seeing things like what happened with FTX, with the crypto, situation, and such greedy CEOs, sometimes just kind of coming out of the woodworks to do, all kinds of insane things. And so that creates just this entire environment of distrust in the marketplace. And I think if we're ever going to earn back trust, we have to start doing some of these that we keep on the website, AI Truth's website, that are the 12 tenets of trust, which is like making it transparent what it is that these algorithms do. Think like the FICO score. Those guys, you can go look up your FICO score and see exactly what it is. But can you go look at, how you've been ranked by some random company, in terms of, whether or not you should have your healthcare claim, settled or given to you, and yet that determines whether or not you're going to get a, procedure you need. No, there's no transparency. There's no real appealing either. So there's no place to go and appeal that. You don't even know how the privacy and security is working on some of these applications that we deal with in our lives every day. Like, I don't know about you, but I have my health insurance company has an app, and you go into that and you submit your claim, and you can see how you're following and tracking along with it, and is it going through, am I going to get this paid for or not? And then you sweat it out if it's a really big one. And it's kind of unnerving to not have any say, no sense of agency, no understanding if they're even using the right background data on you. Especially people who have names that are more common, to understand if your identity might have gotten mixed up with someone else. Like if your name really was John Doe, for example, you'd be in trouble, right? Or John Smith or whatever, there's these names that are just so common. And in some cultures more than others. So it's like, wow, they could really mess up your identity and you would never even know. You'd just be denied for things based on someone else's, potential issues. So those are the kinds of things that I think
Yep, yep. We all feel that. We all feel at the consumer level, patient level, you name it, right? And yet, as member of technology community, which I am so privileged to belong to, for
Yeah.
for last how many years, right? So,
Mhm.
what do you think? What kind of message should we send to young, inspired data scientists, computer scientists, people who just entering the technology field today? Right, because they will be the next generation building all this stuff for society, right, for the globe. So,
That's
what's a kind of good message for them to situate themselves? Because they're also frustrated. They also have challenges, starting career, being excited about experimenting. So, what do you think they should be thinking about to become the best they can be? Mhm.
Well, I think what they need to focus on is, well, one, do innovate. I want to innovate. I mean, I just feel like the ambitious things that I really want to do with AI, we can't do them yet because nobody would trust them, and they shouldn't, because what I want to do is see AI really get into the healthcare space and start diagnosing appropriately people with a personalized touch in the same way that we would recommend, personalized, things to purchase online, which don't carry a huge risk factor. If you buy the wrong sweater, nothing's going to happen to you. But if you get diagnosed wrong and you don't take the right medicines, bad things will happen to you, right? Or you get diagnosed wrong and someone sells that information about you, then you may never be able to land a job again because the company may not want to take that kind of a risk or an expense into their company, which would be wrong because there's rules against that. But it happens. And so, I think the main thing is the golden rule. When you get into AI and you want to do something innovative, just always think about the flip side too. So if I could recognize criminals with a facial recognition program or whatever, wouldn't that be fantastic? But what happens if I start recognizing and my facial recognition starts convicting people who are innocent? Is the harm going to outweigh the good done by the app? That's the question at the end of the day, or whatever it is that you're developing. Maybe it's not an application, but it's a data feed. And is there a way for you to allow as much transparency as humanly possible so that people have a sense of agency and they're on this journey with you, so that when you're developing, you're not just in a bubble by yourself as an individual developing for this group over here who has no idea that they're even being impacted by what your decisioning system is putting out there, because you're selling it to someone who's impacting them, but with your decisioning capabilities. And that's the part that's really crappy, right? Is when you don't know this is happening and you're disenfranchising people. So you have to think, if this got used the opposite way of what I intended, because this happens, users will take stuff that you develop and they will use it for other means than what it was developed for. It's just a given. So if that happens, could I deal with that situation? Would I be prepared to shut it down? Would I be prepared to take proper legal steps if I had to? Would I be prepared mentally to deal with pushing back on senior executives who tell me that I have to keep going with an innovation even once I see that it's heading in the wrong direction, kind of like the intro to my book, right? Where I'm talking about, whoa, we just went from talking about heavy smokers and now we're talking about,
Please give us this example, Courtney. This was fabulous example from your book, because you found yourself in an interesting situation at the client meeting. Give us some of it, please, of that story.
yeah, because we're just people. All of us are just people. And I put this in the beginning of the book because I am not judging anybody for the situation that they find themselves in. We all will find ourselves in these crazy situations where we suddenly are forced to come to a reckoning with our own personal values. What we have to remember is that we have personal values, and sometimes those conflict with the other people that we're developing a solution for. And we have to figure out where our own personal line is and what we are not willing to cross, so that we know when we have to push back, when we just absolutely will not be able to face ourselves if we don't push back. You don't want to have that kind of career where you look back and go, man, did I just create the atomic bomb version of the AI solution here?